mini Christmas cooking video. Today we're making mince pies, so come and have a look at the ingredients. We have 150 grams of mincemeat, that was just out of a jar, so put it into a bowl. We've got 100 grams of butter, I've got 150 grams of just plain white flour, and then these are the optional ingredients that I'm going to use today. I've got some ice and sugar and an egg to make a glaze and a sprinkle on the top, and then a lemon zest to go in with the mincemeat. You'll need a cupcake tray tin, and then ideally we've got a grater and a nice star cutter and a round cutter for the mince pies. Let's get started. So first things first, we're going to preheat the oven to 180 degrees. Okay, so we're going to have a go at making the short crust pastry. So I want you to add your 150 grams of flour into a sieve, if you have one, and you just bring that up and bash it against the palm of your hand. And that's just to get the air into the flour, make a nice little snowfall at Christmas. And just work out until it's all done. Perfect. And then we're going to work the butter into the flour. Now, if you add the butter in chunks to your flour, make sure it's in chunks. And basically, I'm going to show you a technique of how to combine the butter with the flour to get it all nice and airy, so that the pastry is nice and light. My top tip before you do this is to make sure your hands are really nice and cold by running them into the cold water. So I've already done mine, and then that'll mean that your fingers don't stick to the pastry. So what we do is we combine the flour and the butter by just bringing the flour in like this, and you bring it up to a height and you just crumble the butter like that between your thumb and your finger. It's quite fiddly, but you just bring it up like that. And it might take a few minutes, 10 minutes maybe, so I won't show you the whole thing, but you get the idea is that you're bringing them in together, and then you're rubbing the butter and the flour together at a height, again, to get the air in. I'm not very good at it. Alternatively, you can use a fork and just work the butter into the flour like that until they look like breadcrumbs. So I'll just keep doing this for the next 5 to 10 minutes, and you do too, and then I'll show you the finished product. Right, so I've been working my pastry for about 10 minutes. So as you can see, it kind of looks now like a bit like breadcrumbs. And we had to add a little bit of flour as we were going, so just do that in order to get it into that kind of breadcrumby texture. It could do with being slightly finer than that, but that's also fine. Next, we're going to get your lemon or your orange, whatever you have. And I want you to take the fine bit of a grater, if you have it, and just grate the lemon or the orange into the mixture. Use the whole thing so you get a nice citrusy flavour. There we go. Nearly there. Might take a while a bit. Sometimes you forget which part of the lemon you've used already, but that's not a problem. Right, that should do. Just get all the rest of that in. Like that. And then you can just mix that in with a wooden spoon or with your fingers if you'd like to. And then you're going to add just a dash of water. Now do this slowly so that you don't add too much too quickly. You just add a dash like that, and then you're going to mix the whole thing together, and hopefully it'll come into a big ball of dough. I'll just get my hands in. There we go. See, it all kind of comes together like that. Might put a little bit too much in actually, but that's okay. Get it into a bowl like that. And then if you've got some cling film, I want you to just add some cling film over the top of the bowl. If you have foil, that's fine, or a plate, or even a tea towel. Just cover the bowl up, and we're going to put the dough into the fridge now for about 10 minutes. Okay, so now that the short crust pastry is in the fridge, we're just going to take that time to take a bit of butter and we're going to grease the little cupcake holes in the cupcake tin. So you want to just get your fingers in to the butter and just go all around on the bottom and all around the sides as well. This is just to make sure that when we put the mince pies in, they don't stick to the tin at the end. So it's important prep. Put too much butter there. It's alright. That's what we've got clean hands for. And if you do all of these, and we'll come back when I'm finished. Okay, so I've greased all my cupcake holes, so I'm just going to put that to one side. And we're going to take the dough out of the fridge now. It's been in for about 10 minutes. So you can leave the film on actually. And what you're going to do is put some flour, if you have it, over the surface that you're going to be working on, because the plan is we're going to roll out the dough in order to make the pastry bottoms. So just flour your table like that, spread it all wide. And then also another tip is just to flour your rolling pin a little bit as well, just because otherwise the pastry will stick to it. So just like that, that's fine. And then take your dough, it's been in for 10 minutes, and put it into the centre like that. You can get a bit of flour on it if you want, just to make sure it doesn't stick. And you're just going to roll it out so it's quite thin. And what you might need to do is just keep adding flour or moving it out like that. So you want to roll it out until it's quite thin, about 1.5 millimetres thick, I would say would be ideal. And it doesn't really matter at this stage what shape you are rolling it into, because we're going to cut the bottoms out of it anyway. So that should do. Just move that forward a bit. Oh. So you just want to be careful that things aren't sticking, so that's why the flour is really important. Like that. And then you either take a cutter, a round cutter, or we're just going to use a cup like this. It's about the perfect size. You can use a mug as well, it's usually be quite good. And I just want you to cut out holes like this, and they're going to make the bottoms of the pies. Oh. There we go. And just cut as many out as you can. And don't worry if you don't get the right amount at first to cover your tin, because we can just roll up the dough and make some more. So that's not a problem. There we go. That was a bit sad. Right. Maybe one more out of this batch. There we go. And then what happens with these is they go neatly into the cupcake holes like that. And you can just pop them in, and they make the bases of your mince pies. So they're quite snug, which is nice. And it's good if they've got a bit of a height around the edges, because that's what your top of your mince pie is going to stick to. And just flatten them in. Use your fingers. Make that nice kind of dome shape. And there we go. Alright, so I've finished putting the circles into the mince pie dish here. So as you can see, they're all laid out and ready to go. With the rest of the dough, it was obviously all in bits before, but I just rolled it up into a ball again and then rolled it out. It currently looks a bit like a map of Scotland, which is great. So we're going to leave that for a minute, and we're going to come over here, and I just want you to take a teaspoon, just about that, into each mince pie. Okay, and just fill it up. If you need a little bit more or a little bit less, just use your discretion, but they will kind of puff up once they're in the oven. just like that, and you can use your finger, maybe a little bit more, maybe a tablespoon, depending on how big your cupcake holes are. And like what we did with when we were making the bases, I just want you to go around all the mince pies and do the same, fill them all up. Okay, so now your mince meat's all in the bases, ready to go. What we're going to do is I've made an egg wash, so all I did was crack an egg into a cup and whisk it up. You can also just use water for this, that's not a problem. It's just to make a little liquid so that the stars, the topping, will stick onto the mincemeat. But you can use water, and I've got one of these little brushes, but you can also just use your fingers, and it's literally just a small, you don't need to go overboard at all. Just on the top, doesn't want to go on the inside, just on the top. Like that. Feels like you're painting a bit, it's fine. So once they're all done, we're going to actually come back over to the pastry, which I've rolled out already. And I've got a star cutter for the top. They're going to make the tops of my mince pies. Some people put more round ones on the top, but we're just going to do stars today because it's quite nice when you can see the mincemeat through the stars. So again, just peel them off, and all you're going to do is pop them over the top of the mixture like that and stick the little edges onto the egg wash, which you've just put on the round, just like that. And when the pies blow up in the oven, all the mincemeat comes out the top. It looks really pretty. There we go. Christmas stars. There we are. So I'll just keep doing mine, you keep doing yours, and we'll come back to the video when they're all finished. Okay, so now that the stars are all on the top of your mince pies, just going to take your egg wash again, or water if you have it, and we're just going to put a quick glaze on the top of the stars. They'll make them nice and shiny when they come out the oven. Not a problem, like I say, if you use water for this, it's not necessary, it's just makes them nicer at the end. There we go. There we go. And then if you take your tray, we're going to go over to the oven. Now it's already preheated to 180, so we're just going to pop them on the top like that. And the plan is for them to just be in for about 15 minutes, but I would suggest just keeping an eye on them until they're nice and golden brown. Okay, it's time to take the mince pies out the oven. So let's have a look. They've been in for 15 minutes. Oh, here we are. Not the tiniest mince pies, but that's alright. Okay, so just be careful with this bit, as they'll be quite hot, but I'm just going to take a knife and I'm just going to prise them out. That's where your greasing of the butter comes in handy. They'll just should pop out hopefully. And I'm just going to put them onto the cooling rack. If you don't have a cooling rack, that's not a problem. Just put them onto your chopping board or onto your table or any kind of surface, that's fine. Just get them out of the hot tray. And we're just going to leave these just to cool down a bit. Okay, now they've cooled down a little bit, I'm just going to give them a bit of icing sugar on the top, just to make them look pretty. Just put a bit of that in there. Ooh. And then I'm just going to dust that lightly over the mince pies. Ever so gently, I've gone a bit too mad there, but just ever so gently over the top. There we go. And if you haven't got any icing sugar, you can skip this step, it's not a problem. And there we go, that's those mince pies done. And you can have these with a cup of tea or a hot chocolate. You can have them cold, you can have them warm with a bit of cream on the side, however you like. Enjoy, Merry Christmas!